Britain is a small island nation, nestled off the northwestern coast of mainland Europe. At first glance, it might seem unremarkable, just a cluster of green hills and rugged coastlines surrounded by the restless sea. Yet this modest island would one day become the heart of one of the largest empires the world has ever known. At its height, the British Empire ruled over a quarter of the world's land and people, stretching across continents and oceans. Its influence reached from the Americas to Africa, from Asia to the Pacific, shaping the destinies of millions and leaving a legacy that still echoes today. This was the British Empire, a vast interconnected network of colonies, protectorates and territories. It was a patchwork of cultures, languages and peoples, all linked by the power and ambition of Britain. But how did a small island with limited resources and a modest population rise to become such a giant on the world stage? What forces and circumstances allowed Britain to project its power so far beyond its own shores? The story begins with a combination of ambition, opportunity and necessity. Britain's leaders and people were driven by a desire for wealth, security and prestige. The island's limited resources pushed them to look outward, seeking new lands and new possibilities. Britain's location was key. Situated at the edge of Europe, it was both isolated and connected, protected by the sea, yet close enough to the continent to be involved in its affairs. The English Channel served as both a barrier and a gateway, shaping Britain's identity as a seafaring nation. Over time, Britain developed a powerful navy and a tradition of skilled sailors. The Royal Navy became the backbone of its strength, allowing the island nation to defend itself, explore unknown waters, and eventually dominate the seas. With these maritime advantages, Britain was able to explore distant lands and establish control over vital trade routes. Merchant ships carried goods, ideas, and people across vast distances, connecting Britain to the farthest corners of the globe and fueling its growing ambitions. The Age of Exploration, which began in the 15th century, marked a turning point in world history. European nations, including Britain, set out to discover new worlds driven by curiosity, competition, and the promise of untold riches. The search for new routes to the east, especially for valuable spices and exotic goods, spurred daring voyages across uncharted waters. These journeys were risky, but the rewards were immense. New markets, new resources, and new opportunities for power. As explorers landed on unfamiliar shores, they claimed new territories for their monarchs, often encountering indigenous peoples and cultures very different from their own. This era of discovery set the stage for the expansion of European and especially British power overseas, forever changing the course of history. Ships were the backbone of the British Empire. These majestic vessels, with their billowing sails and sturdy wooden hulls, were more than just a means of transportation. They were symbols of ambition, innovation, and national pride. The sight of a British ship on the horizon struck awe and sometimes fear into the hearts of those who saw them, as they represented the reach and power of a growing empire. Advances in shipbuilding and navigation allowed the British to travel further and faster than ever before. Shipyards bustled with activity as craftsmen honed their skills, perfecting the art of building vessels that could withstand the harshest seas. Navigators, armed with new instruments like the sextant and improved maps, charted courses across previously uncharted waters, opening up new worlds for exploration and trade. The invention of new ships like the galleon, with its superior speed and firepower, gave the British a technological edge over their rivals. These ships were not only faster and more maneuverable, but they were also heavily armed, making them formidable opponents in battle. The galleon became a symbol of British naval dominance, enabling the empire to protect its interests and expand its influence across the globe. These ships carried more than just goods. They carried dreams of new lives, escape from poverty and the promise of adventure. For many, the journey across the ocean was a leap of faith, a chance to start over in distant lands. Some sought religious freedom, hoping to build communities where they could worship without fear of persecution. Others were driven by the hope of finding opportunity and prosperity far from home. while others craved wealth and power in new lands. Adventurers and fortune seekers set sail in search of gold, spices and other treasures, eager to claim their share of the riches that awaited beyond the horizon. The lure of the unknown drew countless explorers to risk everything for the possibility of fame and fortune. The desire for control over valuable resources like spices, tea and cotton fueled the empire's expansion. Trade routes became lifelines, connecting Britain to distant continents and bringing exotic goods to its shores. The bustling ports and crowded markets of the empire were a testament to the vast network of commerce that ships made possible, transforming Britain into a global trading powerhouse. The East India Company, a powerful trading corporation, played a significant role in establishing British dominance in India. Acting as both merchant and ruler, the company built trading posts, negotiated treaties, and even raised its own armies. Its influence stretched far beyond commerce, shaping the destinies of nations and leaving a legacy that would endure for centuries. The British Empire's growth was not always peaceful, and its expansion often came at a great cost. Wars were fought, and territories were claimed through force, leaving lasting scars on many societies. Indigenous populations often suffered displacement, exploitation and cultural suppression under colonial rule. The legacy of the British Empire is complex and highly contested even today. On the one hand, it brought advancements in infrastructure, education and governance to many parts of the world. It spread the English language and legal systems, leaving a lasting impact on cultures and institutions worldwide. On the other hand, it was built on colonialism and exploitation, which cannot be ignored. The forced labour, suppression of local cultures and economic disparities caused by the empire continue to have repercussions today. The debate over reparations and the legacy of colonialism remains a sensitive and ongoing topic. The British Empire's rise and fall is a story of ambition, innovation, and the relentless pursuit of power. From its humble beginnings as a collection of small overseas trading posts, the empire expanded to become the largest the world had ever seen, spanning continents and touching the lives of millions. Driven by a desire for wealth, influence and discovery, Britain's explorers, merchants and soldiers ventured into distant lands, forever altering the course of history. Yet this story is not just one of triumph. It is also a tale marked by conquest, oppression, and the resilience of those who resisted colonial rule. For every territory claimed, there were communities uprooted, cultures suppressed, and voices silenced. The struggle for independence and justice became a defining chapter for many nations as people stood up against imperial domination, often at great personal cost. Understanding the British Empire is crucial to understanding the world today. Its influence can be seen in the political boundaries that shape our maps, the legal systems that govern societies, and the languages spoken across continents. The Empire's legacy is complex, filled with both remarkable achievements and deep injustices, and it continues to spark debate and reflection in classrooms and communities worldwide. Its legacy is woven into the fabric of global politics, economics and culture. The connections forged, sometimes by force, sometimes by cooperation, have left lasting marks on trade, migration and international relations. The architecture of cities, the structure of governments, and even the foods we eat bear traces of this shared and often contested history. From the languages we speak to the borders that define nations, the echoes of the empire are still felt. Generations continue to grapple with the consequences of colonialism, from cultural blending and exchange to ongoing struggles for equality and recognition. The British Empire's reach extended far beyond its own shores, shaping identities and destinies in ways that are still unfolding. The British Empire's story serves as a powerful reminder of the complexities of history and the importance of learning from the past. By examining its triumphs and tragedies, we gain insight into the forces that have shaped our modern world and the lessons that can guide us toward a more just and inclusive future. It encourages us to critically examine narratives of power, progress, and the enduring impact of colonialism. By reflecting on these stories, we are challenged to confront uncomfortable truths, honor the resilience of those who resisted, and strive for a deeper understanding of our shared global heritage.